Jesus never calls his disciples to go and convince other people of my sets of beliefs. Let's talk about it as we recap yesterday's sermon. And there's going to be an application where you can take your pen and paper. Well, what does he do? He says, go make disciples. Disciples are students of Jesus. Now, how did you do it? He gives another clue in Acts 1, verse 8, where he says, when the Holy Spirit is going to come upon you, and we will focus on that in another video, you will be, here's the word, witnesses here in Jerusalem, in Samaria, to the end of the world. Which means sharing your personal story of things that you have witnessed. Now, what is a witness? A witness, if he's good, he tells the truth. Secondly, he is in reason. He's a reasonable witness, right? So he shares the truth, what he has experienced. And that's called a living proof. It's used in court. It's used in many different ways. We see witnesses as some form of access to the experiential truth. Jesus calls his disciples to be witnesses, and this is why we have 4 different gospels, right? Different people, experience Jesus differently. They share the same Jesus, and they have experienced him with different eyes, different hands, different ears, but it's deeply experiential. And in the letter of 1 John essentially says in the beginning, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our own eyes, which we have looked upon, have touched with our hands, concerning the word of life. That's who we're sharing, right? We're not sharing a philosophy or just a set of beliefs. We're sharing a person we have touched, seen, walked with, experienced life. This is what that you can share. Now, all of us live post-ascension, post-resurrection, post-ascension, like after Jesus rose on high, meaning very few people have had a physical experience of the resurrected Jesus. Some people actually do it and have this supernatural experience, like Paul did. But all of us who are post-resurrection, post-ascension, what we can share is our own experience with this Jesus, that he's alive and well, and he's changing lives. Well, how do you do that? Well, in Acts 22, Paul has this amazing, simple, very effective structure, which is so natural to everybody because everybody has a story. First of all, he starts off by talking about who he was before Jesus. I hated Christians. I threw them in jail, tried to kill them as much as I could. Then he moves over to the moment that God met him. He's like, how did Jesus meet me? And he tells about this experience, how he fell from a horse and the light shone on him and changed his life, and then how he experienced the grace of the believers, how they received him, and that changed his outlook on how actually forgiveness is and what grace is, and how did Jesus meet me? And then the last one is what Jesus is doing in my life right now, which is very interesting because if you just say, well, from now on, my life just changed. Like, how did it change, right? And it's good to share a story from just a week or 2 or a month ago. So those 3 questions actually work for everybody. Who were you before Jesus? Even those people like me who were before, became followers of Jesus when they were really young children. I know I have a before Jesus, and I shared that in my sermon. I don't have time here, but it changed me completely when he met me, and I became somebody different. And I can tell you from last week that I've experienced God. I've prayed for somebody and pain went away and things like that. So we all have a story. And if we don't, maybe we've forgotten things. So it's time to remember. Or maybe it's time to lean into faith again and try to experience things with Jesus again because he's alive and he is ready for people who want to step out in faith. One way that you can do that is, first of all, write down your testimony. Write down the 2 first questions, and the last one is something you can update again and again, whatever is happening right now with God, right? So it's actually the most important story, as Severin said yesterday, that you can write down. The second thing that you can do is show up on the 15th, this Sunday, on the public space in Bürkliplatz. We're going to have this public service, public celebration of people's life in Jesus with a baptism at the end. So I would love to see you, and God bless you guys. Have a wonderful week.